This peaceful island has beyond our reef. A great legend tells of a hero god Maui. They will save us all. Lue, 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 lue.
Maui, wind and sea.
Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea. From the top, hero of man. Going on a mission with some little girl. First, we've got to go through a whole ocean. Hakamora.
Kako, what? Kinda cute.
Moana! I got your back. Cheek.
To the realm of monsters.
Don't worry, it's a...
Welcome to Cinema Film. What if the ocean itself chose one girl to change the fate of her people? Thio's Moana, 2016, is more than just a Disney animation. It's a powerful story of courage, culture, and destiny. In this video, I'll review Moana and share amazing hidden facts you probably missed. So if you enjoy movie reviews like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Cinema Film. Moana is a 2016 American animated musical adventure film made by Walt Disney Animation Studios and directed by John Musker and Ron Clements, with a story written by Jared Bush. The movie features the voices of Dwayne Johnson and Auliʻi Cravalho, marking Cravalho's first film role. The music plays a big part in the film, with songs written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Opera Ifoi, and Mark Mancina, while the background score was also composed by Mark Mancina. The story takes place in ancient Polynesia and follows Moana, a brave and determined young girl who is the daughter of a village chief living on a coastal island. She is chosen by the ocean itself to return a powerful magical relic to the goddess Te Fiti. When a dangerous blight begins to destroy her island, Moana sets out on a risky sea journey to find Maui, a legendary demigod, hoping to restore the relic, save her people, and bring balance back to nature. The story is inspired by Polynesian culture and traditional myths. Moana first premiered at the AFI Fest at the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles on November 14, 2016, before being released in theaters across the United States on November 23. The film was praised by critics for its animation, music, story, and cultural representation, and it also performed very well at the box office, earning around $687 million worldwide. At the 89th Academy Awards, Moana received 2 nominations, including Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song for How Far I'll Go. After becoming available on Disney+, Moana became the most streamed movie in the United States from 2020 to 2024, and it was even described as the #1 movie in streaming history. Due to its massive popularity, a sequel titled Moana 2 was released in 2024, and a live-action version of the film is planned for release in 2026, with Dwayne Johnson returning to play Maui in both projects. On the Polynesian island of Maui, the people honor Te Fiti, the goddess of nature, who exists as a living island. Long ago, she created life across the ocean using a green Paunamu stone that served as her heart and the source of her power. One day, Maui, the powerful shape-shifting demigod of the sea and wind and a master navigator, stole Te Fiti's heart in an attempt to give humans the power to create. His actions caused Te Fiti to fall apart, and he was confronted by Tka Diaresis, a fiery volcanic monster. During the battle, Maui lost both the heart and his magical fishhook, which sank into the ocean. 1,000 years later, the ocean chooses Moana, the daughter of Chief Tu of Maui, to return the heart to Te Fiti. Moana's parents, Tu and Sina, try to keep her away from the sea so she can focus on learning how to become the next chief of the island. 16 years later, a terrible blight spreads across Maui, destroying crops and causing fish to disappear. Moana suggests sailing beyond the reef with her pet pig, Pua, to find new fishing grounds and understand what is wrong. but her father strictly forbids her from leaving the island. Despite this, Moana attempts to cross the reef on her own but is defeated by strong waves and washed back to shore after her boat is wrecked. Later that day, her grandmother Tala shows her a hidden cave filled with old ships and reveals that Maui's people were once great voyagers before Maui stole Te Fiti's heart, making the ocean unsafe. Tala explains that Tka'adirasis's growing darkness is destroying the island and that only Moana can stop it by finding Maui and returning the heart to Te Fiti. The ocean had already given Moana the heart, and Tala now entrusts it to her fully. Soon after, Tala becomes seriously ill and urges Moana to follow her destiny and find Maui. Moana secretly sets sail on a traditional canoe called a kamaka, unknowingly accompanied by her foolish pet rooster, Hae, who sneaks aboard. A powerful storm wrecks the boat, leaving Moana stranded on an island where she finally meets Maui. Maui proudly talks about his past achievements, but when Moana demands he return Te Fiti's heart, he refuses and traps her in a cave before escaping on her boat. Moana manages to break free and confronts him again, and although he resists at first, Maui reluctantly allows her to travel with him. Along the way, they are attacked by the Kakama'ara, a group of dangerous coconut pirates who want the heart, but Moana and Maui work together to outsmart them. Moana begins to see that Maui lost his hero status when he stole the heart and brought destruction to the world. She encourages him to fix his mistake by returning it. However, Maui insists he must first recover his magical fishhook from Lalatai, the realm of monsters, where it is held by Tamatoa, a giant and flashy crab. While Moana distracts Tamatoa, Maui retrieves the hook but struggles to control his shape-shifting powers. Tamatoa overpowers him, but Moana's clever thinking helps them escape with the hook. Maui then shares his painful past, revealing that his human parents abandoned him as a baby and that the gods gave him his powers out of sympathy. With Moana's support, Maui regains confidence, teaches her how to navigate by the stars, and the two form a strong bond. When they finally reach Te Fiti's island, they are immediately attacked by Tka'adirasis. Moana refuses to give up, but during the fight, Maui's fishhook is badly damaged. Fearing the loss of his powers, Maui abandons Moana and leaves her alone. Heartbroken, Moana asks the ocean to find someone else to return the heart, and the ocean takes it away. At that moment, the spirit of her grandmother Tala appears and reminds Moana of who she truly is. Regaining her courage, Moana retrieves the heart and sails back to face Tka'adirasis once more. Maui returns as well, having realized his mistake, and distracts Tka'adirasis so Moana can reach Te Fiti, sacrificing his fishhook in the process. Moana then understands that Tka'adirasis is actually Te Fiti herself, corrupted by the loss of her heart. The ocean parts to allow Moana through, and she returns the heart, restoring Te Fiti and healing the ocean and the islands. Maui apologizes, and Te Fiti repairs his fishhook and Moana's boat before peacefully turning back into an island. Moana says goodbye to Maui and Te Fiti and returns home, where she reunites with her parents. She places a shell on the pile of stones left by past chiefs, officially taking her place as the new leader and wayfinder of Maui. Under her guidance, the people return to their voyaging routes, sailing across the ocean once again, with Maui watching over them. The casting process for Disney's 2016 animated film Moana was a deliberate effort to honor Polynesian culture through authentic representation, prioritizing actors of Pacific Islander descent to bring depth and credibility to the characters. Directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, the film required voices that could capture the spirit of ancient Polynesia, blending adventure, mythology, and emotional resonance. The production team, under Walt Disney Animation Studios, conducted extensive auditions across the Pacific Islands, reviewing hundreds of candidates to ensure cultural alignment. This approach was not merely about talent but about fostering a narrative that respected the traditions and histories of Samoa, Hawaii, Tonga, and other Polynesian regions. The emphasis on authenticity extended to the voice performances, where actors were chosen for their ability to infuse roles with genuine cultural nuances, from vocal inflections to emotional authenticity. Central to this process was casting director Jamie Sparrow Roberts, who oversaw the selection of the voice talent. Roberts, known for her work on other Disney animated features like Frozen and Big Hero 6, brought a keen eye for discovering emerging talent while ensuring established stars could adapt to the demands of animation. Her role involved coordinating global auditions, collaborating with the directors on callbacks, and integrating feedback from cultural consultants. Roberts' strategy focused on open calls in Hawaii and other Pacific locations, aiming to unearth voices that embodied the film's themes of exploration, heritage, and self-discovery. This methodical approach resulted in a cast predominantly of Polynesian ancestry, setting a benchmark for inclusive casting in Hollywood animation. The search for the titular character, Moana, exemplified the production's commitment to fresh, culturally resonant talent. Auliʻi Cravalho, a then 14-year-old native Hawaiian high school freshman, emerged as the perfect fit after an unconventional path to the role. Born on November 22, 2000, in Kohala, Hawaii, Cravalho grew up in Mililani with her mother, Auliʻi Cravalho, in modest circumstances, relying on federal assistance programs like food stamps. Of mixed heritage including native Hawaiian, Chinese, Irish, Portuguese, and Puerto Rican descent, she attended Kamehameha School's Kape Dairis Islamic campus, where she participated in glee club and performed in backyard plays. Her love for singing and performing was evident from a young age, as she recalled dancing around the house and belting out songs at the top of her lungs. Cravalho's entry into the Moana casting was serendipitous and almost accidental. Initially, she had no intention of auditioning for the film. During her freshman year, she focused on schoolwork, aware that numerous girls from her high school and across Hawaii had already submitted tapes via YouTube and other platforms. There were already so many great submissions that I didn't think I needed to try out, she later explained in interviews. Instead, Cravalho and her friends prepared an audition tape for a local charity event or nonprofit showcase, seeking extra credit for their concert glee club. They created an a cappella mashup with beatboxing and harmonies, showcasing their vocal talents. However, they didn't advance in that competition. The turning point came when the casting director for the charity event, who happened to be Rachel Sutton, the same talent scout working with Disney on Moana, reviewed their tape. Impressed by Cravalho's performance, Sutton contacted her mother and suggested auditioning for the Disney role instead. This redirection proved fateful. Cravalho was invited to a formal audition, becoming the last candidate out of hundreds reviewed from across the Pacific Islands. Her audition tape and subsequent callbacks demonstrated a certain fearlessness, as described by co-director John Musker. She has a playful, mischievous wit, Musker noted, highlighting how her natural charisma aligned with Moana's spirited personality. Once cast, Cravalho flew to Los Angeles for in-person sessions with directors Clements and Musker, the veteran duo behind classics like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin. She landed the role without a traditional screen test, a testament to her innate suitability. At the time, the character's design was already finalized, but animators incorporated some of Cravalho's mannerisms such as her expressive facial movements and energetic delivery into Moana's animation during production. This integration helped make the character feel alive and authentic. Cravalho began voice recording immediately, balancing sessions with her school schedule. Her debut performance was praised for its sweetness and relatability, capturing Moana's journey from a curious teenager to a confident wayfinder. The announcement of Cravalho's casting on October 7, 2015, generated buzz, with Dwayne Johnson publicly welcoming her on social media. "I'm pumped to welcome 14-year-old Auliʻi Cravalho of Mililani, Hawaii to our project," he posted on Facebook. For Cravalho, the role was more than a career launch, it was a cultural milestone. "I never imagined being in a Disney movie, being Moana representing my culture in that way," she said. Her involvement extended beyond the English version. She reprised the role in the Hawaiian language dub, further emphasizing linguistic authenticity. Post-Moana, Cravalho's career blossomed, including roles in Netflix's All Together Now and Broadway's Cabaret, but her origin story remains a highlight of the film's casting narrative. Complementing Cravalho's fresh voice was the selection of Dwayne Johnson as Maui, the shape-shifting demigod central to Polynesian mythology. Johnson, born on May 2, 1972, in Hayward, California, brings his own Pacific Islander heritage to the role. His mother is of Samoan descent, tracing back to the Auliʻi family, renowned in wrestling and Samoan culture. Known professionally as The Rock, Johnson's background in professional wrestling and action films like Fast Furious made him a high-profile choice, but his casting was rooted in cultural fit and enthusiasm for the project. Johnson was approached early in development, drawn to the story celebration of Polynesian voyaging and mythology. In interviews, he expressed pride in representing his ancestors, noting that Maui's legendary feats such as fishing up highlands and slowing the sea mirrored tales from his Samoan upbringing. "This story is emblematic of our people's culture," he said, reflecting on the character's larger-than-life persona. Johnson's voice work required adapting his charismatic delivery to animation, a challenge he embraced despite admitting voice acting is the most difficult career in acting. He repeatedly sought feedback from co-stars to ensure his performance resonated, annoyed by subpar celebrity voiceovers in other films. The chemistry between Johnson and Cravalho was a casting triumph, described as great and natural in reviews. Their recording sessions, often separate due to scheduling, still captured a dynamic banter that elevated the film's humor and heart. Johnson's physicality influenced Maui's design. Animators studied his movements to create the demigod's muscular, tattooed form, with hand-drawn animations for the magical tattoos by Eric Goldberg. Beyond the film, Johnson's involvement boosted its visibility, and he later championed a live-action remake, underscoring the enduring impact of his casting. The supporting cast was meticulously assembled to enhance the film's cultural tapestry, with each actor bringing Polynesian roots and unique talents. Rachel House, voicing Ghoomti Moana's wise, ocean-loving grandmother, hails from New Zealand with Maori heritage. Born on October 20, 1971, House is an accomplished actress and director, known for roles in Whale Rider and Hunt for the Wilder People. Her casting added depth to Tala's mystical guidance, drawing from Maori storytelling traditions. House reprised her role in the Maori language dub, ensuring cultural consistency. Her performance infused Tala with warmth and humor, making the character a pivotal emotional anchor. Timothy Morrison, as Chief Tudyk, Moana's overprotective father, also brings Maori ancestry. Born December 26, 1960, in Rotorua, New Zealand, Morrison gained fame as Jango Fett in Star Wars and has a rich history in films depicting indigenous stories, like Once Were Warriors. His voice conveyed Tudyk's stern yet loving nature, reflecting Polynesian familial values. Morrison reprised in the Maori dub, and Christopher Jackson provided Tudyk's singing voice, adding Broadway flair to songs like Where You Are. This dual casting highlighted the film's musical demands, blending spoken and sung performances seamlessly. Jermaine Clement, voicing the villainous Crab Tamatoa, contributed a flamboyant, sin-stealing energy. Of Maori descent through his mother, Clement, born January 10, 1974, in Masterton, New Zealand, is best known for Flight of the Conchords and What We Do in the Shadows. His casting stemmed from his comedic timing and musical prowess, evident in Tamatoa's show-stopping song Shiny. Clement improvised lines, enhancing the character's egotistical flair, and reprised in the Maori dub. The role allowed him to explore Polynesian-inspired villainy with a modern twist, making Tamatoa memorable despite limited screen time. Nicole Scherzinger, as Sina, Moana's supportive mother, added vocal elegance rooted in her native Hawaiian heritage. Born June 29, 1978, in Honolulu, Scherzinger rose to fame with the Pussycat Dolls and has Broadway experience. Her casting emphasized maternal strength in Polynesian culture, with her performance providing subtle emotional layers. Scherzinger reprised in the Hawaiian dub, reinforcing authenticity. Her singing background shone in ensemble numbers, contributing to the film's catchy soundtrack. Tudyk, voicing the dim-witted rooster Hain in Villager No. 3, brought versatility despite not having Polynesian roots. A Disney regular, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Tudyk's animal noises and comedic timing made Hain a fan favorite, evolving from a scripted character to a mostly silent, chaotic companion based on test screenings. Additional voices included Oscar Kitely, fisherman, of Samoan heritage, known for Son's Wedding. Troy Polamalu, Villager No. 1, a Samoan-American NFL star whose cultural pride aligned with the role, and Auliʻi Cravalho, Villager No. 2, Auliʻi's mother, adding a personal touch. Louise Bush voiced toddler Moana, capturing early innocence. This ensemble's Polynesian made Auliʻi Cravalho and Scherzinger, Hawaiian, Johnson, Kitely, Palomelu, Samoan, House, Morrison, Clement, M.A. Diarisis was intentional, reflecting the film's setting in ancient Polynesia. The Oceanic Story Trust, a group of Pacific experts including anthropologists and navigators, advised on casting to avoid stereotypes, influencing choices like Maui's redesign from bald to long-haired for cultural accuracy. Cultural representation was paramount, addressing Hollywood's history of whitewashing. By prioritizing indigenous voices, Moana avoided pitfalls, though minor controversies arose, like a pulled Maui costume criticized for cultural insensitivity. The casting fostered pride among Polynesian communities, with actors like Cravalho becoming role models. Voice acting challenges were met through rigorous sessions, with actors adapting to isolation booths and director guidance. Cravalho's inexperience was an asset, bringing freshness, while veterans like Johnson pushed for excellence. The impact of these choices resonated globally, with Moana grossing over $690 million and earning Oscar nominations. The casting set a precedent for diversity, influencing future Disney projects and highlighting the power of authentic representation in storytelling. Expanding on the production's cultural consultations, the Oceanic Story Trust played a crucial role in shaping casting decisions. Formed early in development, this advisory board included elders, artists, and historians from Fiji, Samoa, Tahiti, and beyond. They reviewed scripts and character designs, ensuring voices aligned with Polynesian values like communal harmony and respect for nature. For instance, they advocated for actors who could authentically portray wayfinding traditions, leading to selections like Morrison, whose M.A. Diarisis background echoed navigational lore. In terms of auditions, the process was exhaustive. Beyond Cravalho's story, open calls in Hawaii drew thousands, with scouts like Sutton scouring schools and community events. Callbacks involved singing tests for the Lin-Manuel Miranda-composed soundtrack, emphasizing vocal range for songs like How Far I'll Go. Actors were evaluated on emotional delivery, as animation relies on voice to convey subtlety. For supporting roles, casting balanced star power with authenticity. Clement's selection for Demigod came after directors sought a comedic voice with musical chops. His Concord's experience sealed it. House's prior collaboration with Tudyk Waititi, who consulted on the film, made her a natural fit for Tella. The film's animation style influenced casting, requiring voices that paired with CGI visuals. Johnson's booming tone matched Maui's grandeur, while Cravalho's youthful timbre suited Moana's arc. Overall, Moana's casting blended discovery, heritage, and talent, creating a landmark in animated filmmaking. Moana, 2016, Comprehensive Film Analysis. Production development and pre-production. The journey of bringing Moana to the screen began in 2011, when directors Ron Clements and John Musker pitched the concept to Walt Disney Animation Studios. After completing their work on The Princess and the Frog, the directing duo had initially planned to adapt Terry Pratchett's Mort, but rights complications forced them to abandon that project. To avoid similar legal entanglements in the future, they decided to develop original ideas instead. The genesis of Moana occurred when Musker immersed himself in Polynesian mythology and became fascinated by the heroic exploits of the demigod M.A. Diarisis. Both he and John Lasseter found the idea of setting an animated film in the South Pacific particularly intriguing. This cultural landscape offered Disney an opportunity to explore a region that had rarely been represented in mainstream animated films, providing fresh visual and narrative possibilities. The development process for Moana was extraordinarily comprehensive, spanning 5 years from conception to completion. This extended timeline allowed the filmmakers to conduct extensive research and ensure cultural authenticity. Recognizing the importance of respectful representation, Clements and Musker took an unprecedented step. They recruited experts from across the South Pacific to form what they called the Oceanic Story Trust. This advisory group consisted of cultural experts, anthropologists, linguists, and community leaders who consulted on every aspect of the film's development. The Oceanic Story Trust proved invaluable as the story evolved through 9 different versions. Their input directly shaped numerous creative decisions and prevented potential cultural missteps. For example, when early designs depicted Maui as bald, the Trust responded negatively, explaining that long hair held cultural significance. The filmmakers immediately revised the character design to give Maui flowing locks. Similarly, a proposed scene showing Moana throwing a tantrum by hurling coconuts was scrapped after the Trust deemed it culturally inappropriate and out of character for a respectful portrayal of a Pacific Islander protagonist. The story development faced significant challenges throughout the process. Multiple writers contributed to shaping the narrative architecture. Aaron and Jordan Condell joined the project during what the production team described as a critical period, tasked with deepening the emotional story structure. They received credit for developing several key elements: the core relationship dynamics between Moana and Maui, the prologue sequence that establishes the mythological backstory, the Cave of the Wayfinders where Moana discovers her people's seafaring heritage, the coconut-armored Kakama'ura pirates, and the treasure-hoarding collector Crab Tamatoa. Ultimately voiced by Jermaine Clement, Jared Bush received sole screenplay credit for the final version, having refined and integrated all the various story elements into a cohesive whole. Early versions of the film looked quite different from what audiences eventually saw. According to deleted scenes and production notes, previous iterations dedicated considerably more time to secondary characters and their relationships with one another. Scenes exploring the dynamics between Tala and Tua, or between animal companions Pu and Hae, were ultimately cut for pacing reasons. In these earlier versions, Moana had 9 older brothers and no mother character at all. The character of Sina, who would become Moana's mother and Tua's wife, wasn't added until very late in the production process, demonstrating how significantly the story evolved. Another substantial change involved the central conflict. An alternative version focused on Moana attempting to rescue her father, who had been lost at sea. While this storyline was eventually abandoned, it survived as a subtle element of Tua's backstory, explaining his overprotective nature and reluctance to let anyone venture beyond the reef. The villain tka Diaresis also underwent conceptual changes. In early drafts, she was called Tpa Ring, a more direct reference to the Ma Diaresis Ori goddess Hainua Tpa Ring, who transformed from a life-giving deity into the goddess of death after discovering her husband was also her father. One character who emerged late in development was Moana's grandmother, Tala. Screenwriter Pamela Reban contributed the idea of a grandmother figure who would serve as a mentor, linking Moana to ancient traditions while supporting her dreams of ocean exploration. This character became crucial to the emotional core of the film, providing wisdom, encouragement, and a connection to the past that propelled Moana toward her destiny. During the 2015 D23 Expo, Disney revealed that Moana's last name would be Waialiki. However, this surname was ultimately dropped from the final film, with the character simply known as Moana. This decision reflected the filmmakers' desire to create a character that could represent the spirit of Polynesian culture broadly rather than being tied to one specific island or naming tradition. Filming unlike live-action films, Moana's production phase involved animation rather than traditional filming. However, the computer animation process followed a structured timeline comparable to principal photography. The film was produced in makeshift quarters housed in a giant warehouse in North Hollywood, sharing space with another Disney animation project, Zootopia. This temporary arrangement was necessary because Disney Animation's headquarters building in Burbank was undergoing extensive renovations during the production period. Director John Musker noted parallels between this situation and the production of The Little Mermaid, which had similarly been created in a warehouse in Glendale. Despite the less than ideal physical workspace, the team managed to create one of Disney's most visually stunning films to date. Production officially wrapped on October 20, 2016, just weeks before the film's theatrical premiere. The animation team consisted of approximately 90 animators, a significantly larger crew than typically required for traditionally animated films. This expanded team size was necessary because computer-generated films generally have shorter production schedules but require more hands working simultaneously on different aspects of the animation. The scope of the project demanded specialists in various areas: character animation, effects animation, lighting, layout, and numerous technical disciplines. Post-production. The post-production phase of Moana proved particularly challenging due to major story problems identified in 2015, after the film had already transitioned from development into active production. This timing created significant pressure on the creative team. Computer-generated films typically operate on compressed schedules compared to hand-drawn animation, making mid-production story revisions especially complicated. By this point, directors Clements and Musker were already working 12-hour days, including Saturdays, managing the large animation team. The demands of directing 90 animators while simultaneously addressing fundamental story issues proved overwhelming. To help resolve these narrative problems without derailing the production schedule, Walt Disney Animation Studios brought in additional directorial support. Don Hall and Chris Williams, who had recently completed Big Hero 6, joined as co-directors specifically to help fix the film's story issues while Clements and Musker continued overseeing the massive animation effort. This collaborative approach allowed the production to maintain momentum while addressing creative concerns. The co-directors worked to refine character arcs, tighten pacing, and ensure emotional beats landed effectively. Their experience and fresh perspective proved invaluable in identifying solutions that preserved the film's core vision while strengthening its narrative structure. One notable creative choice made during production involved paying homage to contemporary cinema. The scene featuring Moana in Maui's encounter with the Kakama'ara pirates was intentionally designed as an homage to Mad Max: Fury Road. The frenetic energy, chase dynamics, and visual style of this sequence reflected the filmmaker's admiration for George Miller's action masterpiece, translated into a family-friendly animated context. The animation team faced numerous technical challenges throughout production. Creating realistic water effects proved particularly complex, requiring new animation techniques and software development. The animators needed the ocean to function as both a natural element and a character with personality and intent, capable of interaction and emotion. This anthropomorphized water required unprecedented technical innovation. Another significant technical achievement involved animating hair. Both Moana and Maui sport abundant, curly hair that moves realistically in wind and water. Each strand required individual attention and physics simulation. The animation team developed new techniques specifically for rendering and animating these elaborate hairstyles, pushing the boundaries of what computer animation could achieve at the time. Maui's tattoos presented their own unique challenge. The character's body art includes a miniature animated version of himself called Mini Maui, who acts as Maui's conscience and sidekick. This character within a character required separate animation that had to remain consistent with Maui's movements while maintaining its own personality and comedic timing. The technical complexity of keeping the tattoos properly aligned on Maui's body during his constant motion and transformations demanded innovative solutions from the animation team. The lighting department faced the task of creating varied environments ranging from sunny tropical islands to the mysterious, neon-lit realm of monsters. Each location required different lighting approaches to establish mood and atmosphere. The underwater sequences in Lalatai needed to feel otherworldly and slightly menacing, while the island scenes bathed everything in warm, inviting sunlight. Rob Trussell supervised layout while Adolf Lusinski handled lighting supervision, ensuring visual consistency throughout the film. Dialogue recording for Moana was completed on July 16, 2016. Relatively late in the production schedule. This timing is typical for animated films, where voice performances are recorded after animation has begun, allowing actors to provide vocal performances that animators can then use as reference for finalizing character movements and facial expressions. However, preliminary voice work often occurs earlier in production to guide the animators during the initial animation phases. The casting process had been extensive. For the titular role, Disney conducted a massive search for the perfect voice. On October 7, 2015, Walt Disney Animation Studios announced via video that they had cast 14-year-old Hawaiian native Auliʻi Cravalho to portray Moana. Cravalho reportedly won the role after competing against several hundred other young women who auditioned. Her authentic Hawaiian background and powerful singing voice made her the ideal choice to bring the character to life. Dwayne Johnson, announced in November 2014 to voice Maui, brought star power and genuine Polynesian heritage to the role. His casting generated considerable excitement, as the rock's larger-than-life personality seemed perfectly matched to the boastful demigod. The supporting cast included Rachel House as Gramatella, Timry Morrison as Chief Tudyk, Nicole Scherzinger as Sina, Jermaine Clement as Tamatoa, and Alan Tudyk providing comic relief as Hae the rooster. Music. The musical component of Moana represented one of the film's most celebrated achievements, resulting from an innovative collaboration between three composers with distinct backgrounds and specialties. Walt Disney Animation Studios wanted to combine traditional South Pacific culture with contemporary pop sensibilities and Broadway-style storytelling. This ambitious goal led them to assemble an unprecedented musical team. The musical team Lin-Manuel Miranda, who would become one of Broadway's most influential figures with Hamilton, was still relatively unknown when Disney initially approached him in 2014. At the time, Hamilton had not yet premiered on Broadway, so Miranda had to audition for the Moana position. His hiring proved to be remarkably fortuitous timing, as Hamilton would become a cultural phenomenon by the time Moana reached theaters, making Miranda one of the most sought-after composers in entertainment. For Miranda, working on Moana fulfilled a lifelong dream. As a self-proclaimed Disney aficionado, he cited The Little Mermaid as a transformative experience from his childhood. He recalled calling in sick from school the day the film was released on VHS so he could be first to purchase it. The calypso rhythm of Under the Sea particularly inspired him, creating what he described as a feeling of almost vertigo and motivating him to pursue musical composition. Working on a Disney animated feature represented the culmination of aspirations formed in his youth. Miranda's involvement with Moana provided creative balance during his intensive work on Hamilton. In interviews, he explained that Moana served as an oasis during Hamilton's development, offering him the opportunity to escape into oceanic adventure whenever he grew weary of the Founding Fathers. This creative alternation between projects likely benefited both, allowing Miranda to approach each with fresh perspective. Joining Miranda was Mark Mancina, a composer with extensive Disney experience, having previously collaborated on The Lion King, Tarzan, and Brother Bear. Mancina brought expertise in world music and orchestration, understanding how to blend diverse cultural influences into cohesive film scores. His role involved creating the instrumental score while also contributing to the song's musical arrangements. The third collaborator, Opetaia, provided authentic Polynesian musical perspective as a tokla and singer-songwriter and leader of the band Te Vaka. Foe's involvement ensured that Pacific Island musical traditions would be genuinely represented rather than approximated. His knowledge of traditional Polynesian instruments, rhythms, and vocal styles became foundational to the soundtrack's authenticity. According to John Musker, the collaboration aimed to fuse the three composers' strengths, Foe's Pacific roots, Miranda's narrative sense, and Mancina's world music expertise. The trio worked together both in New Zealand and Los Angeles, with the first song they completed being We Know the Way. Foe began composing this piece after his initial meeting with Disney in December 2013, developing a song that would establish the film's connection to Polynesian wayfinding traditions. To record demos of his songs, Miranda recruited performers from his other theatrical projects. Hamilton stars Philippa Sue, Christopher Jackson, and Renee Tilda copyright Elise Goldsberry, along with In the Heights star Marcy Harry Eel, helped Miranda create preliminary versions of songs that would guide the film's development. These demo recordings allowed the filmmakers to experiment with musical styles and narrative approaches before final recordings. The soundtrack features several songs that have become modern Disney classics, each serving specific narrative purposes while showcasing different aspects of the film's musical palette. How Far I'll Go emerged as the film's signature song and emotional centerpiece. Miranda wrote both music and lyrics for this powerful I Want ballad that expresses Moana's longing for adventure beyond her island home. The song skillfully balances her wanderlust with her love for her people and home, creating an internal conflict that drives the narrative. Performed in the film by Auliʻi Cravalho, whose powerful vocals brought remarkable emotional depth despite her young age and inexperience, the song also received an end credits version performed by Auliʻi Cravalho. How Far I'll Go garnered significant recognition, earning nominations for Best Original Song at both the Academy Awards and Golden Globes. It won the Grammy Award for Best Song Written for Visual Media at the 60th Annual Grammy Awards. The song's success led Disney to create How Far I'll Go Around the World, a multi-language compilation featuring the song performed in numerous languages by singers from different countries, similar to the approach used for Let It Go from Frozen. You're Welcome showcases Dwayne Johnson's surprising vocal talents in a self-aggrandizing number where Maui lists his legendary accomplishments. The song's playful lyrics and catchy melody made it a fan favorite, with Johnson's charismatic delivery adding humor and personality to his demigod character. The song peaked at number 83 on the Billboard Hot 100 during the week of December 17, 2016. An end credits duet version featured Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jordan Fisher, demonstrating the song's crossover appeal. Shiny provides a show-stopping moment with Jermaine Clement voicing the treasure-obsessed crab Tamatoa. The song's glam rock style, reminiscent of David Bowie, creates a flamboyant and deliciously villainous number set in the bioluminescent realm of monsters. The song's theatrical excess and Clement's gleefully narcissistic performance make it one of the soundtrack's most memorable entries. We Know the Way serves as a musical bridge to Polynesian wayfinding traditions, incorporating traditional Pacific instrumentation and O'Klaw lyrics alongside English. The song accompanies Moana's discovery of her ancestors' seafaring heritage in the Cave of the Wayfinders, creating an emotional connection to her cultural past. This piece particularly showcases Opa'aiafoi's contributions, grounding the soundtrack in authentic Pacific Island musical traditions. Where You Are introduces Moana's island community and establishes the tension between staying safely on Maui and venturing beyond the reef. Performed by Christopher Jackson, Louise Bush, Nicole Scherzinger, Rachel House, and Auliʻi Cravalho, the song presents the perspective of Moana's parents and community while revealing her internal conflict. I Am Moana, Song of the Ancestors, provides a powerful moment of self-discovery where Moana reconnects with her identity and purpose. Performed by Rachel House and Auliʻi Cravalho, the song marks a turning point in Moana's journey, combining emotional depth with cultural significance as her grandmother's spirit guides her toward accepting her destiny. Additional songs include Know Who You Are, performed during the film's climactic confrontation with tka diaresis, and various instrumental pieces that underscore key moments throughout the narrative. A deleted song titled Warrior Face, with introduction by Lin-Manuel Miranda, was included as bonus content on home video releases, offering insight into the creative process and roads not taken. Musical style and cultural authenticity. The soundtrack's greatest achievement lies in its successful fusion of diverse musical influences while maintaining respect for Pacific Island cultural traditions. The composers took seriously the Oceanic Story Trust's mandate that the music honor the cultures being represented. They consulted with Pacific Island musicians and cultural experts throughout the composition process, ensuring that traditional instruments, vocal techniques, and rhythmic patterns were employed authentically. The use of O'Klaw language in several songs adds linguistic authenticity rarely heard in mainstream animated films. Rather than relying solely on English with generic island flavor, the filmmakers committed to incorporating actual Pacific Island languages, making the soundtrack a more genuine representation of Polynesian culture. Traditional instruments including the pate, slide drums, tuimu, percussive instruments, and various shell instruments appear throughout the score, blended with contemporary orchestration. This combination creates a soundscape that feels both ancient and modern, honoring tradition while remaining accessible to global audiences. The orchestral score, composed by Mark Mancina, provides emotional underscore that complements the songs while establishing mood and atmosphere. Mancini's experience with world music allowed him to create instrumental arrangements that felt organic to the film's specific setting. The score swells during dramatic moments, whispers during intimate scenes, and pulses with energy during action sequences, all while maintaining stylistic consistency with the songs. Commercial success and legacy. The Moana soundtrack achieved remarkable commercial success, debuting at number 16 on the Billboard 200 chart and eventually peaking at number 2, kept from the top spot by The Weeknd's Starboy. By April 2017, the album had sold 509,000 copies in the United States, making it the third soundtrack to surpass 500,000 in sales that year, following Suicide Squad and Trolls. By year's end, Moana had sold 709,000 copies and earned 1,254,000 album equivalents, finishing as the country's fifth best-selling album of 2017 and achieving the ninth largest overall album consumption. The soundtrack set a Billboard record for most weeks at number 1 on the soundtracks chart, maintaining that position for 61 consecutive weeks by October 23, 2021, a remarkable demonstration of sustained popularity. The music's cultural impact extended beyond commercial metrics. How Far I'll Go became an anthem for self-discovery and determination, resonating particularly with young audiences. The song's integration into Disney's theme parks, with Moana-themed attractions and character meet and greets featuring the music, helped maintain the soundtrack's visibility and relevance long after the film's theatrical release. The theatrical release strategy for Moana demonstrated Disney's confidence in the film's commercial potential and cultural significance. The film's journey to theaters began with a prestigious world premiere during the IFFI Fest at the El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles on November 14, 2016. This high-profile debut positioned Moana as a significant artistic achievement worthy of festival recognition, not merely a commercial entertainment product. 9 days after the IFFI Fest premiere, Moana opened theatrically in the United States on November 23, 2016, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. This release date was strategically chosen to capitalize on the lucrative Thanksgiving holiday weekend, one of the most profitable periods for family entertainment. The timing positioned Moana to benefit from school vacations and family gatherings, when multi-generational moviegoing is particularly strong. Disney had announced the release date as early as October 2014, initially hinting it might be November 23, 2016, before confirming the date in November 2014. This early announcement allowed the studio to establish the release window and build anticipation over the 2-year lead up to the film's debut. The film opened in 3,875 theaters across the United States, with approximately 80% offering 3D screenings. Additionally, Moana played in 50 premium large format screens and more than 400 D-Box motion seats, providing enhanced viewing experiences for audiences willing to pay premium ticket prices. The wide release strategy ensured maximum accessibility while offering tiered viewing options. Pre-release tracking projected a 3-day opening weekend around $50 million, with 5-day Thanksgiving weekend estimates ranging from $75 to $85 million, though some predictions ventured as high as $90 million. These projections suggested strong but not spectacular performance expectations Moana would exceed. The film began earning revenue with Tuesday paid previews starting at 7 p.m., generating $2.60 million, the highest preview earnings ever for a Walt Disney Animation Studios film and for any non-Pixar Disney animated feature. This strong preview performance indicated healthy audience interest and positive word-of-mouth building even before the official opening. On its official Wednesday opening day, Moana earned $15.5 million, setting a new record for a Walt Disney Animation Studios film opening on Wednesday and establishing the biggest opening day ever for a film released on pre-Thanksgiving Wednesday, breaking Frozen's previous record. Thanksgiving Day brought $9.9 million, representing a 36% decrease from the previous day but still solid performance given typical holiday patterns. The film's 5-day Thanksgiving weekend performance totaled $82.1 million, with the traditional 3-day weekend, Friday through Sunday, generating $56.6 million. These results made Moana the third biggest 3-day Thanksgiving opening, behind Frozen and Toy Story 2, and the second biggest 5-day Thanksgiving opening, behind only Frozen. The film dethroned Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them from the top position, establishing Moana as the dominant family entertainment option. Industry analysts viewed these opening numbers as another animated success for Walt Disney Animation Studios, following strong 2016 performances from both Zootopia, released in March, and Pixar's Finding Dory, released in June. Moana's opening was considered particularly impressive given the more compressed release calendar, with the studio managing to launch 3 major animated features in a single year, the first time Disney had accomplished this since 2002. The film demonstrated strong holding power in subsequent weekends. During its second weekend, Moana dropped approximately 50% to $28.30 million, a smaller decline than comparable Disney films including Toy Story 2, Frozen, Tangled, and The Good Dinosaur. This strong retention indicated positive audience reception and word-of-mouth recommendations driving repeat viewings in families who had delayed their initial viewing. Moana topped the box office for 3 consecutive weekends despite facing competition from new releases and holdovers. The third weekend brought an estimated $18.8 million with only a 33% drop, remarkably strong for a film's third frame. After 3 weekends, the film had accumulated $145 million domestically, tracking similarly to Tangled from 2010, though running approximately 26% ahead of that film's pace, suggesting a potential final domestic gross around $240 million. The theatrical run extended from November 23, 2016, through April 27, 2017, giving Moana over 5 months in theaters, a lengthy engagement that allowed the film to build audience through the holiday season and into the new year. A sing-along version was released to approximately 2,000 screens on January 27, 2017, featuring on-screen lyrics to encourage audience participation, similar to the successful re-release strategy Disney had employed with Frozen. This enhanced version generated additional revenue while maintaining the film's presence in theaters. The film was accompanied theatrically by Inner Workings, a short film created by a small team at Walt Disney Animation Studios. This short explores the internal struggle between a man's pragmatic, logical side and his free-spirited, adventurous half, using a unique visual style blending computer animation and hand-drawn techniques. The short's themes complemented Moana's story of self-discovery and following one's dreams. International release. Moana's international release presented unique challenges related to the film's title and character name. In many European countries, the name Moana was changed to Vaiana due to a trademark conflict with an existing European company. Countries affected by this change included Poland, Portugal, Belgium, Croatia, Bulgaria, Denmark, Estonia, France, Finland, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Spain, Sweden, Ukraine, Czech Republic, Romania, Slovakia, Serbia, and the Netherlands. Italy presented a special case. The film was released there under the title Oceania, with the character's name changed to Vaiana. Media outlets speculated that this dual name change aimed to avoid confusion with Italian pornographic actress Mona Pazzi, a well-known figure in Italian popular culture. Disney Italy's head of theatrical marketing, Davide Romani, acknowledged at a 2015 meeting of Italian exhibitors that they were thinking about the issue, confirming the name change was deliberate and considered. The international strategy included culturally sensitive dubbing efforts. Following the success of Frozen's international versions, which featured complete albums of Let It Go in numerous languages, Disney committed to producing high-quality translations and dubbing for Moana. On October 25, 2016, at a press conference in Papeete, Disney announced that Moana would become the first motion picture to be fully dubbed in the Tahitian language, a significant gesture toward Pacific Island communities.
This worldwide performance placed Moana among the top-earning animated films of 2016, though it finished behind Zootopia, $1.024 billion, Finding Dory, $1.029 billion, and The Secret Life of Pets, $875.5 million. However, it comfortably exceeded other animated competitors like Trolls, $346.9 million, and Sing, $634.2 million. Box office milestones demonstrated Moana's steady accumulation of revenue. The film crossed $500 million worldwide on January 22, 2017, approximately 2 months after its initial release. By March 16, 2017, it had surpassed $600 million globally. These achievements made Moana the fourth consecutive Walt Disney Animation Studios film to reach both the $500 million and $600 million marks worldwide, following Frozen, Big Hero 6, and Zootopia, an unprecedented streak of commercial success for the studio. From a financial perspective, with an estimated production budget of $150 million, Moana needed to gross approximately $375–450 million worldwide to break even when accounting for marketing costs and theater shares. The final gross of $687.2 million meant the film generated substantial profit from theatrical release alone, before considering ancillary revenue streams like home video, merchandising, theme park integration, and streaming rights. Industry analysts viewed Moana's box office performance as another win for Disney Animation's creative renaissance. Following the massive success of Frozen in 2013, Disney had demonstrated consistent ability to produce high-quality animated films that connected with audiences globally. Moana's performance, while not reaching Frozen-level phenomenon status, confirmed that Disney Animation had rebuilt itself as a reliable commercial force capable of competing with Pixar on equal footing. The film's per-theater averages remained healthy throughout its run, indicating strong attendance rather than revenue driven primarily by premium format pricing. While 3D, IMAX, and other premium formats contributed to the total, the film succeeded through broad appeal rather than relying on upcharges to inflate grosses. Several factors contributed to Moana's box office success. The Thanksgiving release date positioned it perfectly to capture family audiences during school vacations. The lack of direct animated competition during its opening weeks allowed Moana to dominate the family entertainment market. Disney's marketing campaign effectively highlighted the film's musical elements, stunning visuals, and cultural authenticity, building anticipation across multiple demographic groups. Critical acclaim certainly helped sustain box office performance, as positive reviews encouraged audiences who might have waited for home video to see the film in theaters. The strong word of mouth regarding the songs, particularly How Far I'll Go, drove repeat viewings and expanded the audience beyond just families with young children. Dwayne Johnson's involvement provided marketing benefits, as his considerable social media following and crossover appeal helped promote the film to audiences beyond Disney Animation's typical reach. His genuine enthusiasm for the project and his Polynesian heritage lent authenticity to promotional efforts. The film's box office trajectory followed a pattern typical of well-received animated films: strong opening, good holds through the holidays, gradual decline in January, and long tail through spring. The decision to release a sing-along version in late January provided a small boost and extended the theatrical life. Comparing Moana to other Disney animation films of the 2010s provides useful context. It fell short of Frozen, $1.281 billion worldwide, Zootopia, $1.024 billion, and Big Hero 6, $657.8 million, but exceeded Wreck-It Ralph, $471.2 million, Tangled, $590.7 million when adjusted for re-releases, and Winnie the Pooh, $50.1 million. Among the studio's output, Moana represented solid middle-tier performance, a successful but not record-breaking. The box office performance also validated Disney's strategy of cultural authenticity. Some industry observers had questioned whether a film centered on Pacific Island culture could achieve broad commercial appeal, especially in markets unfamiliar with Polynesian traditions. Moana's worldwide success demonstrated that culturally specific stories told with universal themes could resonate across diverse audiences. Critical response: Moana received widespread critical acclaim upon release, with reviewers praising virtually every aspect of the film's production. Review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes reported that 95% of critics gave the film positive reviews based on 283 reviews, with an average rating of 7.9 out of 10. The site's critical consensus stated, with a title character as three-dimensional as its lush animation and a story that adds fresh depth to Disney's time-tested formula, Moana is truly a family-friendly adventure for the ages. On Metacritic, which assigns a weighted average score to reviews, Moana received a score of 81 out of 100 based on 43 critics, indicating universal acclaim. This strong critical reception positioned Moana among the best-reviewed animated films of 2016 and among Disney Animation's most praised works of the 2010s. CinemaScore, which polls audiences on opening night, reported that viewers gave Moana an average grade of A on an A+2F scale. This enthusiastic audience response suggested strong word-of-mouth potential, as satisfied viewers would likely recommend the film to friends and family. The CinemaScore result aligned with the positive critical reception, indicating agreement between professional critics and general audiences about the film's quality. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone awarded Moana 3.5 stars out of 4, praising it as pure magic and highlighting the animation's unprecedented technical achievements. He noted that the ocean had never been rendered more beautifully in animation, with water effects that surpassed anything previously achieved in the medium. A.O. Scott of the New York Times delivered a particularly thoughtful review, praising the film's cultural sensitivity and visual splendor. He noted that Disney Animation had successfully navigated the challenging task of representing Pacific Island cultures respectfully while creating an entertaining mainstream animated film. Scott highlighted the film's gorgeous animation and sophisticated storytelling, suggesting it represented Disney Animation at the peak of its creative powers. Owen Gleiberman of Variety offered high praise, describing Moana as the most ravishing Disney animated film since the studio's 1990s golden age. This comparison to The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, are widely considered among Disney's greatest achievements, positioned Moana as a return to form after years of inconsistent quality. Gleiberman particularly praised the film's visual creativity and emotional depth. Kyle Smith of the New York Post wrote enthusiastically about the film's music, stating that Lin-Manuel Miranda had penned the best Disney songs in decades. This assessment, coming just as Hamilton was dominating Broadway, suggested that Miranda's involvement had elevated the musical component to levels not seen since the Disney Renaissance of the 1990s. Smith's review emphasized how the songs enhanced rather than interrupted the narrative flow. David Ehrlich of IndieWire gave the film a grade of B+, praising its technical achievements while suggesting the story followed somewhat familiar Disney formula patterns. However, he noted that the formula worked beautifully when executed at this level of craftsmanship. Ehrlich particularly appreciated the film's lack of a romantic subplot, viewing this as a refreshing departure from typical princess narratives. The Hollywood Reporter's John Nifor called Moana fresh and funny with eye-popping animation. He praised the film's humor, noting that it balanced sincere emotional moments with laugh-out-loud comedy effectively. Nifor highlighted how the film respected its audience's intelligence, trusting viewers to understand complex cultural concepts without excessive exposition. Manila Dargis of the New York Times, in a separate review from A.O. Scott's, focused on the film's feminist credentials, praising Moana as a heroine who saves herself and her people without requiring rescue from a male hero. Dargis appreciated that Moana's relationship with Maui remained platonic, allowing the story to focus on mutual respect and partnership rather than romance. She viewed the film as a positive step forward for representation of capable, independent female protagonists in animation. Kenneth Duran of the Los Angeles Times praised the film's irresistible combination of adventure, heart, humor and spectacular animation. He noted that Disney Animation had successfully balanced commercial appeal with artistic ambition, creating a film that satisfied both as entertainment and as craft. Turan particularly appreciated how the cultural research enhanced rather than constrained the storytelling. Chris Nashawati of Entertainment Weekly assigned the film a grade of A, describing it as exhilarating and praising its gorgeous animation and catchy songs. He highlighted how the film succeeded in creating a new Disney heroine who felt distinct from previous princesses while maintaining the qualities that made Disney protagonists appealing. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune gave Moana 3 stars out of 4, calling it smart, visually spectacular and emotionally satisfying. He appreciated the film's pacing, noting that it maintained momentum without feeling rushed. Phillips praised the voice performances, particularly highlighting Auliʻi Cravalho's impressive debut and Dwayne Johnson's surprising vocal talents. Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter focused his review on the technical achievements, marveling at the water animation and environmental details. He described the ocean sequences as mesmerizing, noting that the animators had solved long-standing challenges in rendering realistic water movement and interaction. McCarthy suggested that Moana represented a significant technical milestone for computer animation. Alonso Duralde of The Wrap praised the film's dazzling visuals and strong voice work, while noting that the story occasionally felt predictable. However, he argued that the execution elevated familiar narrative beats, making them feel fresh through creative presentation and emotional honesty. Duralde particularly enjoyed the film's humor, citing the coconut pirates and Tamatoa as highlights. Peter Debreuge of Variety emphasized the film's cultural authenticity, praising Disney for consulting extensively with Pacific Island communities. He noted that this respectful approach enriched the storytelling, providing depth and specificity that generic exotic island settings could never achieve. Debreuge viewed Moana as a model for how mainstream studios could represent underrepresented cultures thoughtfully. Justin Chang of the Los Angeles Times offered measured praise, appreciating the film's craftsmanship while suggesting it didn't quite reach the heights of Disney's very best work. Chang noted that Moana succeeded on its own terms as adventure entertainment while perhaps lacking the transcendent emotional power of films like Up or Inside Out. Nevertheless, he recognized it as a strong addition to Disney's catalog. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times gave Moana 3.5 stars out of 4, calling it a visually stunning, emotionally powerful and thoroughly entertaining film. He praised the directors for creating memorable characters and maintaining narrative focus throughout. Roper particularly appreciated how the film balanced action sequences with quieter character moments. Critics repeatedly praised specific elements across multiple reviews. The animation quality received near universal acclaim, with reviewers marveling at the water effects, character animation, and environmental detail. The ocean's characterization as a sentient supporting character drew particular attention, with critics praising how the animators gave personality to water through movement and interaction. The musical score earned widespread praise, with reviewers frequently mentioning Lin-Manuel Miranda's contributions and the song's catchiness. How Far I'll Go received special attention as a worthy addition to the Disney songbook, with many critics comparing it favorably to classics like Part of Your World and Let It Go. Voice performances garnered consistent positive mentions, particularly Auliʻi Cravalho's debut as Moana and Dwayne Johnson's charismatic Maui. Critics noted that both performers brought authenticity and emotional depth to their roles, creating fully realized characters rather than merely celebrity voice cameos. The cultural representation received thoughtful critical consideration. Most reviewers praised Disney's commitment to authenticity and consultation with Pacific Island communities, viewing the approach as respectful and enriching to the storytelling. Some critics noted the inherent complexities of a major American corporation telling Pacific Island stories but generally concluded that Disney had handled the responsibility well. The film's feminist themes drew attention from critics examining representation in children's media. Many praised Moana as a strong female protagonist whose journey centered on self-discovery and service to her community rather than romance. The absence of a love interest received particular note as a refreshing departure from Disney princess formula. Few criticisms emerged in reviews, but some noted that the narrative structure followed predictable patterns typical of hero's journey stories. A handful of critics suggested that the supporting characters, particularly Moana's parents and community members, felt underdeveloped compared to the leads. Some reviewers noted that the film's pacing occasionally lagged in the middle section before the climactic confrontation. The coconut pirates scene divided critics somewhat, with some finding it hilarious and others viewing it as an unnecessary Mad Max parody that disrupted the film's tonal consistency. Similarly, Tamatoa's shiny number received mixed reactions and most critics loved its flamboyance, but a few found it excessive. A small number of reviewers expressed disappointment that the film didn't break new ground narratively, suggesting that Disney animation had settled into a comfortable formula. These critics acknowledged the exceptional execution but wished for more narrative risk-taking alongside the technical innovation. Awards recognition followed the critical acclaim. Moana received 2 Academy Award nominations, Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song for How Far I'll Go. While the film didn't win either category, losing Best Animated Feature to Zootopia and Best Original Song to City of Stars from La La Land, and the nominations themselves represented significant recognition from the Academy. The Golden Globe Awards similarly nominated Moana for Best Animated Feature Film and How Far I'll Go for Best Original Song. Though it didn't win in either category, the Grammy Awards proved more successful for the film's music, with How Far I'll Go winning Best Song Written for Visual Media at the 60th Annual Grammy Awards, validating the critical consensus about the song's quality. Various critics' organizations recognized Moana in their year-end awards. The film appeared on numerous top 10 lists for 2016. With several critics naming it the best animated film of the year despite competition from Zootopia, Finding Dory, Kubo and the Two Strings, and other strong animated entries. The National Board of Review included Moana in its list of top films, recognizing it as one of the year's most accomplished productions across all genres. The American Film Institute, named Moana one of the top 10 films of 2016. Further cementing its status as both a critical and commercial success. Technical awards recognized the film's achievements in animation craftsmanship. The Annie Awards, which honor excellence in animation, nominated Moana in multiple categories and awarded it for outstanding achievement in production design. The Visual Effects Society recognized the water animation and technical innovations, nominating the film for outstanding visual effects in an animated feature. International critical reception mirrored the positive domestic response. European critics praised the film's visual beauty and cultural respectfulness. Asian markets, particularly Japan, embraced the film enthusiastically, with critics there appreciating its themes of tradition and self-discovery. Latin American reviewers highlighted the film's family values and musical appeal. The film's critical legacy has strengthened over time. Retrospective assessments frequently place Moana among Disney Animation's finest achievements of the 2010s, alongside Frozen, Zootopia, and Big Hero 6. The film's reputation has benefited from its sustained popularity on streaming platforms, with new audiences discovering it years after release and adding to the positive critical conversation. Some critical reassessment has focused on the film's cultural impact, with scholars and critics examining how successfully Disney represented Pacific Island cultures. These analyses generally conclude that while no representation is perfect, Moana set new standards for cultural consultation and authentic storytelling within mainstream animation. The involvement of the Oceanic Story Trust and the creation of Pacific Island language versions demonstrated unprecedented commitment to respectful representation. Feminist critics have increasingly cited Moana as an example of progressive representation in animated films. Academic analyses have explored how Moana's journey differs from traditional princess narratives, focusing on community responsibility and self-actualization rather than romantic fulfillment. These scholarly examinations have added intellectual weight to the positive popular and critical reception. Environmental critics have noted the film's subtle ecological themes, particularly the restoration of balance to nature through returning the heart to Te Fiti. While not overtly a message film, Moana's environmental consciousness resonated with critics concerned about climate change and humanity's relationship with nature, particularly relevant given the vulnerability of Pacific Island nations to rising sea levels. The lasting critical reputation of Moana suggests it has transcended its initial reception to become recognized as a modern animated classic. While it may not have generated the cultural frenzy of Frozen, critics increasingly view Moana as the more artistically accomplished film, with deeper cultural roots and more sophisticated storytelling. This perspective positions Moana not merely as a successful Disney film but as an important contribution to animated cinema that will continue to be studied and appreciated for years to come. Reviews number 1 appealing equally to the eyes, ears, heart and funny bone. Moana represents contemporary Disney at its finest, a vibrantly rendered adventure that combines state-of-the-art CG animation with traditional storytelling and colorful characters. all enlivened by a terrific voice cast. Drawing upon the folkloric cultures of the Pacific Islands, this tale about a self-possessed teen who embarks on a quest to save her home turf from looming extinction required the proven talents of two teams of directors to tell its story. Ron Clements and John Musker, The Little Mermaid and Aladdin, and co-directors Chris Williams and Don Hall, Big Hero 6. It may have taken a village, but when you add in a selection of infectious, soul-stirring songs by Hamilton sensation Lin-Manuel Miranda along with score composer Mark Mancina and Samoan musician Opetaia Tavidofoi, you've got a tropical frozen with the potential for a similarly wide-reaching audience when Moana, pronounced Moana, sails into theaters November 23. It will have its world premiere November 14 at AFIFest. Even though she has felt the call of the ocean ever since she was just a small child, spirited Moana, impressive newcomer Auliʻi Cravalho, has been forbidden by her father, Tamara Morrison, the chief of the village of Motunui, to travel beyond the reef that surrounds their island. In many ways she's a kindred spirit of Beauty and the Beast spell, who also contended that there must be more than her provincial life. But when a dire ecological occurrence threatens their future, Moana defies her father's wishes, setting out into the uncharted waters to undo a curse visited upon her people after Maui, the demigod of the wind and sea, stole the heart of Chifiti, the mother island, a sort of goddess from whom all other islands sprung. Accompanied on her excursion by Alan Tudyk, a rainbow-colored chicken who definitely isn't the brightest bird in the flock, Moana soon comes face to face with Maui, Dwayne Johnson, who turns out to be more like a charismatic rocker, lost boy type than a feared semi-deity. Though at first reluctantly, the two ultimately join forces, facing numerous obstacles en route to reuniting the glowing green heart with its rightful owner. While the studio may have in the past faced criticism for whitewashing cultural storylines, both the look of the film's characters and the accompanying voice casting have been carried out with notable sensitivity. In addition to 15-year-old Cravalho, a native Hawaiian with a nice dramatic range, and Johnson, who is of Polynesian heritage and also does his own singing here, is there nothing The Rock can't do? Supporting players Morrison, Rachel House, as Moana's encouraging grandmother, and Jermaine Clement as the bug-eyed, crab-like Tamatoa are all New Zealanders of Maori descent, effectively interweaving those Samoan, Tahitian and Fijian oral traditions with their own distinct sensibilities. Screenwriter Jared Bush, who also penned this year's Zootopia, and the quartet of directors managed to work in plenty of offbeat humor at every inventive turn. At one point, Maui insists the chief's daughter must be a princess because all princesses wear a dress and are accompanied by an animal sidekick, but if Moana boldly ventures beyond the reef, so, too, does the breathtakingly beautiful animation break fresh visual ground, letting the natural light of the sun and the moon inform virtually every textured frame. The film boasts backgrounds that are awash in phosphorescent greenery and shimmering blue waters. Equally strong are the tunes. You can definitely hear Miranda's inspirational hip-hop stylings in songs like You Are Welcome and How Far I'll Go, which, if not quite as catchy as Do You Want to Build a Snowman and Let It Go, come pretty darned close. Accompanying screenings of Moana will be the animated short Inner Workings, Leo Matsuda's wryly satirical portrait, inside, out style, of a meek everyman who decides to start taking chances in life. Reviews Number 2 The Ocean is Calling, directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, starring Auliʻi Cravalho, Dwayne Johnson, Rachel House, Tamara Morrison, Jermaine Clement, Nicole Scherzinger and Alan Tudyk. Moana, Cravalho, is the heir apparent to her father, Chief Tui of Motunui. Morrison, her people live a life contained on their island, which provides all that they need: a broken bar until the fish leave the sea around the island and the crops and coconuts begin to die. Always adventurous, Moana suggests fishing in the more dangerous waters beyond the reef, and then follows her grandmother's house stories to take a boat from the long-forgotten voyaging past of the tribe, and seek for the demigod Maui, Johnson. She finds Maui, and with the help of the ocean she learns from him how to sail as they seek to retrieve his magical fishhook from the crab god Tamatoa. Clement, then return the heart of Taufeti, the mother island, which Maui stole long ago and which is guarded by the lava demon Tika. During the voyage she finds her own identity, between reckless youth and responsibility, and helps the vain demigod to achieve his own transition from showboat to true hero. What's wrong with it? I got nothing. Well, very little. There is a proliferation of American accents, even among the actors of Polynesian descent. Also, they get attacked by the kookaburra. According to Mythology Dictionary, these are spirits in Melanesia, living in trees and caves. These beings are envisaged as human-like, with long nails, varying in size from a few inches to about 5 feet in height. They sometimes kill humans and eat their flesh. In this film they are killer coconuts. I am not even kidding, it's kind of a big-lipped alligator moment. What's right with it? Holy crap, this film is gorgeous. I mean, just a broken bar. It is exceptionally pretty to look at, with some of the most amazing water animation ever. Moana herself is perhaps the strongest Disney princess to date, and possibly the only one to be given the role of solving a problem that she had no part in causing. Her desire to go beyond the reef is not driven purely by curiosity or a sense of adventure, but is also part and parcel of a sense of responsibility. Her actions are both daring and responsible. The film has a great script, with a core story spun from Polynesian creation myths, especially those of the culture hero Maui, and ascribes those myths entirely human motivations. I'm in two minds about Maui. On the one hand there's a stereotype of overweight Polynesian men, and on the other, have you ever seen a hero who looks like that? Moana also pushes the envelope, sliding into the lower percentiles of a healthy weight range. Hi the chicken ice, a broken bar, kind of pointless. Sort of like what you'd get if a pet chicken was your sidekick in real life. Also pretty funny, albeit perpetuating a stereotype of stupid chickens, as is the trend. Matters are not resolved with violence, but with courage, ingenuity and heart. How bad is it really? It's really good. The production is glorious, the heroine tough in a genuine and characterful way, and with none of the unmitigated selfishness of certain princesses. The songs are not as individually awesome as those in Frozen, but for my money service the narrative better and are part of a more complete movie. Best bit, if such there is, there are a lot of cracking scenes in the film, including a giant crab dancing to his own Bowie-esque number in the dark while covered in bioluminescent algae, which looks as if it is made in an entirely different animation style. My favorite, however, is when Moana realizes that the future is in her hands, with or without Maui. What's up with a broken bar? The kookaburra, really? Maui's fishhook. The hell does he fish with it? Oh, right, islands. Ratings, production values. It's so shiny. 1. Dialogue and performances. The American accents and a few lapses into overly familiar Disney speech patterns temper the exploration of an often unfamiliar culture, but overall the script is excellent and the performance is top-notch. 5. Plot and execution. The plot is simple, and the movie follows the narrative thread well. 2. Randomness. The kookaburra, I mean a broken bar, their coconuts and spiky Mad Max barges. 7. Waste of potential. Expectations in the new Disney Renaissance are high. Moana delivers. 3. Overall 18% Disney knows exactly what they're doing with their princess brand. Classics such as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty worked for that time. In every case, there was always a damsel in distress and a prince to the rescue. Nowadays, the formulaic girl power found in Tangled and Frozen moves seamlessly to the rhythm of contemporary times. The studio's 56th feature film, Moana, is surely no different. In fact, Disney is out to shatter even more glass ceilings. Set in ancient Polynesia, a teenage princess named Moana, voiced by Auliʻi Cravalho, is bound to her people as the next in line to rule the tropical island of Maui. Despite her father's wishes to mold her into the next chief, Moana finds herself drawn to the ocean. She hopes one day to sail beyond her reefs and explore the unknown waters. When coconuts start dying and fish becomes a rarity, Moana takes it upon herself to venture out into open water. Her grandmother insists the only way Maui will return to normal is if the demigod Maui is found and a precious stone is restored to an island goddess. Moana is a triumphant film, hinging on an unforgettable date with destiny. The film opens at the methodical pace with no real sense of urgency. Instead, Moana finds herself in an internal struggle between duty and desire. Out of the gate, Cravalho shines in her first role, We genuinely feel what her character is going through. But in typical Disney fashion, leave it to song with where you are and a montage to pull our main character in a personal tug-of-war. But it's not until the pivotal song, How Far I'll Go, that releases Moana on her epic journey with no turning back. Just like Let It Go was to Frozen, How Far I'll Go is the game changer for this film. The lineup of songs is some of Disney's best in years thanks to the collaborative efforts of Hamilton's Lin-Manuel Miranda, Opeta Iafoi and Mark Mancina. Yes, this is a soundtrack worth revisiting again and again. With the introduction of arrogant demigod, Maui, voiced by Dwayne Johnson, Moana quickly turns into a road trip featuring an unlikely duo. We've seen this recently in Disney's Tangled, Frozen and even this year's Zootopia. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. Cravalho and Johnson have impeccable chemistry together. In recent years, Johnson has strayed away from family films, going full throttle